All right, the week started with major averages were up. The FTSE 100 was up. The DAX in Germany was up. The CAC around in France was up. WTI, Brent crude was down. Natural gas was down. Gold was down. Silver and copper were up. Dow Industrials were up. Dow Transports were up. Russell 2000 was up. VIX were up. Major crypto was up. The 10-year was down. The euro and the yen and the pound, they're all up. The dollar index was down. 10 stocks were 32% of the index in the S&P. And millennials are investing more. The young money boom, baby boomers have $101 trillion in wealth. Hospitality, real estate risk is there. The Treasury index and Treasury interest payments on public debt is up 35% year over year. Treasury yields are near 2024 highs. The 2-year and the 10-year curve spreads. Chinese and India companies will be sanctioned over Russian ties. The futures dip before key inflation CPI data. The U.S. wants to sell off seize oligarch yachts that cost more than $600,000 a month to maintain. Fed official says the first interest rate cut may only come in the summer. 85% chance of recession. Just some people say in 2024. All right. They say soft landing is the most unlikely scenario for the U.S. All right. There's indicators of a brace for January inflation data. Bitcoin hit 50,000 on rising ETF demand. Goldman Sachs says a recession indicator is flashing a false positive. All right, China's economic tumult won't stop its manufacturing dominance. Redfin says that the climate change risks raise home prices 65%. U.S. banks have loaned $1 trillion to less regulated shadow lenders. And the latest Cube hire will focus on growing Asian assets, and stocks look like they did before the dot-com and the '08 crash. The Fed interest rates cuts aren't critical for gains. Office faced 30% price drop amid commercial real estate upheaval, and stock slip as investors eye January inflation magnificent seven. Stocks don't represent the next tech bubble burst, and base income payments in Arlington, Virginia, it was spent mostly on education. All right, so the next day, the majors were in the red. The 2 and 10-year were up. Bitcoin still over 50,000. TripAdvisor is looking for a sale. ARM Holding stock price soars 64% after third quarter earnings exposed its artificial intelligence wins. U.S. future is a re-over after inflation surprise. Recover. U.S. futures recover after inflation surprise. All right, spot Bitcoin ETF owns 5% of the Bitcoin currently in existence. The Dow drops over 500 points on consumer price index data. Small business confidence drops amid inflation. Rising labor costs. German bank says commercial real estate crisis is worse than 2008. All right, Fed rates sent new commercial mortgage plummeting 47% last year. BlackRock reorganized unit advising by institutional for advising big institutional clients. Russian economy is making significant degradation, And some analysts say that the stock market is overreacting to hot inflation data. Corporate borrowers are under stress despite resilient economy. China is what they say booming, but needs markets and domestic confidence. The AI hype has um, made Nvidia more valuable than Amazon. Stock investors haven't been this bullish in 2 years, and the the rally of inflation rate was 3.1% in January per new CPI data. Half of Russian sanctioned oil tankers are stalled after trading crude. The Gen Zs use AI and ChatGPT for career advice, and the S&P has a 30% upside on the bubble supposed to be last through 2025. Russia's resurgence creates more market uncertainty, and the AI craze is justified amid huge demand. OPEC chief says peak oil is far off. Equities tumble on hot inflation data. Commercial real estate lending is threatened by new rules by the bank. And Carl Icahn says that JetBlue mimicked the TWA deal, and profits at MoneyPass, MoviePass. So the next day, the AI fintech Rogo's seed pitch deck used to raise $7 million. Jeremy Graham says that the stock rally won't last. The AI bubble will pop and the economy will sink. Walmart's potential Vizio acquisition will challenge Amazon ad dominance. A strong but slow labor market could trigger recession fears. The post crisis streak can't last in the market. Duncan's tracksuit expired by Ben Affleck sold out in minutes. The U.S. stock rose as truckers shake off. No, as traders shake off CPI. Feud route. Morgan Stanley says to lay off hundreds of wealth management team members. All right, guys in tech and finance spend big on stylists to dress them for work. The S&P 500 would have to climb 25% more to mimic the dot-com era hype. The AI rally is strong, but investors risk about being wrong on rate cuts, says Gene Munster. The Fed risk recession is dragging out rates. The crypto market surged past $2 trillion in market cap. Nvidia has the third biggest market cap in U.S. Mortgage cost rise is the highest level since December. Recession adds higher if Fed delays rate cuts for too long. China economic rebound is complicated by Evergrande collapse. Rent for singles living in San Fran and New York are higher. Inflation data delays likelihood of the Fed first rate cut, interest rate cut. The SEC chief Gensler says that the AI washing is is a risk amid Wall Street craze. Denny's has to cut some menu combinations to focus on profitability. Gen Z is discovering the ultimate anti-layoff hack, which is government jobs, and boomers on Medicare Part D will save um, on prescription costs. All right, so the next day, Delta CEO says Boeing, Airbus are critical partners, and U.S. FAA chief is to raise the quality practices with Boeing executives in Washington. Airbus capitalized on Boeing's 737 MAX problems. Warren Buffett is no match for the S&P 500. Berkshire Hathaway dumps millions of Paramount shares. Also, the Berkshire Hathaway incorporate a CIB stock. The CLB stock is underperforming. Disney Plus will release its password crackdown error. Starbucks partners with Bank of America for ways to earn more. The Dow jumps 348 points, erasing the week's losses. Apple is up against stiff competition in China as rivals race ahead with generative AI and foldable designs. General Electric on track for its seventh session in the green, near 2017 highs. AT&T stocks underperformed despite daily gains. Drunken Miller bets on Nvidia, Microsoft, and dump Google's parent Alphabet and Amazon. Buy Supermicro computer stocks before it keeps rising, says Bank of America. Oil prices could spike 40% if war in the Middle East spreads. Japan and UK economies contract as U.S. booms. Investors purchase a record 26% cheaper houses last quarter. Fed rate cuts will come later than expected. Recessions could spark a 30% plunge, says another investor. Elon Musk Tesla's ownership hits 20.5% over, which is worth over 120 billion. Nvidia is worth more than Alphabet and Amazon as it surged past 1.8 trillion. Option traders surge betting on China's stock gains. Target launches a new dollar store style budget brand. SoundHound stocks price soars 55% after Nvidia reveals a new stake. And investors climb as retail data fuels dovish Fed bets. All right, and the next day, the last day, Friday. All right, WTI was up, Brent crude was up, the Dow was down, Bitcoin's down, the S&P's down, the Nasdaq down, 10 years up. Wholesale inflation accelerates more than expected. London's wealthy are renting more. The world's fastest growing economy tries to avoid the oil wealth curse. Um, Dow futures turn lower as another inflation repeat rallies the market. S&P 500 hit new highs fueled by big tech, NVIDIA drives the S&P 500 gains after losses Wednesday. Apple stockholders wants an AI update. NVIDIA is playing some game, and Apple is playing just, NVIDIA is playing the same game as Apple, but just playing it faster. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway sells Apple stock and buys Chevron U.S. To scrutinize Disney, Fox, and Warner Sports streaming deal. GE files a key document in advance of its breakup. Nike is to cut about 2% of jobs, the lower cost as demand weakens. Anti-union efforts cost Starbucks at least $240 million. The Dow Jones opens lower as latest inflation report stokes concern about the Fed rate cuts, a recession, fear of missing out, inflation could collide with stock market rallies. Stock turns lower as producer prices leap, revises inflation concerns. Dow is nearly 150% on losses for Nike, Verizon stock, McDonald's, Taco Bell. Shake Shack says to expect smaller price increase. The S&P and the NASDAQ futures rise after retail drops. Citi says the U.S. will fall into recession mid-2024. China is headed for a lost decade, and the Dow Jones closed nearly 350 points higher after weaker than expected retail sales soothed inflation worries. That was the week.